Hey everyone. I need to be honest. I need to be a little bit honest with y'all. I did film this video yesterday. It's Friday now. I filmed it Thursday night. For some reason, my headphones wanted to be little biatches, and I played it back. By the way, the video was like an hour that I had to edit, and I played it back, and literally the entire audio was, and I was like,
shut up!
yeah. So we're gonna do this all over again. Hi everybody, it's me, Alicia again, and today I'm going to be talking about personally one of my favorite artists literally ever since I was a little kid. If you couldn't already tell by the title, that is Miley Cyrus. Miley has been the mastermind behind various bops throughout her life, such as Nobody's Perfect, Seven Things, The Climb, and Party in the USA, and most recently, more mature songs like Edge of Midnight. So for this video, I wanted to go over all of the different albums and different musical journeys that Miley has gone on through the years, starting with her Disney albums and ending with her most recent album to come out in 2020. But before I get into that, I just wanted to do a little recap of Miley's life and how she got to become who she is today. And of course, we need to start off with her Hannah days. While I'm doing the video, again, I just want to do my makeup so it's just not me staring awkwardly at the camera the entire time. So let's get started with the makeup and let's talk about Miley's upbringing. So Miley's birth given name is actually Destiny Hope Cyrus. You're probably thinking, wow, Destiny Hope Cyrus? That's a pretty damn country ass name. But it would only make sense because of her achy breaking father, Billy Ray Cyrus. Miley was born on November 23rd, 1992, making her just one day short of being a Scorpio. But she's actually Sagittarius. But it's only by one day, and she gives off Scorpio vibes, so in my mind, she's a Scorpio. I don't want to start beef with my astrology hoes out there, so that's just my opinion. And if you don't like my opinion, there's the door. There's the door, bitch. But seriously, Miley was born in Franklin, Tennessee to a very, very big family. Actually, in my opinion, I think it's a big family. Miley's parents are Billy Ray and Trish Cyrus, and when Miley was born, she actually already had a few other older siblings. And there's some fun little, I guess, tea about her older siblings, and I'm going to get into that because I just think it's interesting trivia. She does too. Miley's siblings are Brandy, Trace, Grayson, and Noah Cyrus. Now, you may be thinking that the only name that you may recognize more out of her other siblings would be Noah Cyrus. But if you're a Gen Z like me, or an older Gen Z like me, born in 2000, you will definitely recognize this bop. You're probably thinking, well, what does that have to do with Miley? Well, let me tell you. Trace Cyrus founded the band Metro Station. Metro Station formed actually on the set of Hannah Montana, which I think is super cool. Metro Station is was a two-piece band that consisted of Trace Cyrus and Mason Musso. Now you're thinking, Musso, that last name sounds very familiar. Whoa. Mason Musso is actually the older brother of Mitchell Musso, Oliver from Hannah Montana. Now, these kids definitely spent a lot of time on set, so of course they're gonna, become friends and stuff. So Trace and Mason actually became friends on the set of Hannah Montana while their siblings were busy acting, and they decided to create the band Metro Station, and thus Shake It was born. Fun little tidbit that I just like it so much. It's so interesting. Oh, and side note, Miley's godmother is actually Dolly Parton, and I remember watching that episode as a kid where Dolly Parton was a guest star. And I was like, oh, cool, Dolly Parton. I love that girl. And my mom was like, that's actually her godmother in real life. And she blew my mind. I was like, that's powerful. You know, even as a kid, I knew that was powerful. So Miley was definitely the middle child of her big family, and she definitely wanted to pursue some type of career in either music or acting at a very young age. Miley Cyrus actually once stated in an interview that he once took Miley to see a production of Mamma Mia, and during the production, Miley would turn to him and say, "Dad, I want to do that someday." He definitely knew that his daughter had potential acting abilities and she had a great voice at just a really young age. Since Miley herself said, "Hey Dad, I want to do this," he started wanting to pursue her dreams and pursue what she wanted to do. So eventually, her family ended up getting her an audition to be in the new Disney Channel show. And if you hadn't already guessed it, yes, it was Hannah Montana, which was a cultural reset, but we'll get into that in a little bit. When Miley initially went into this audition, she wanted the role of Lily, Hannah's best friend. But when the director saw her actually acting and interacting with all of the cast members and just how she could just light up a room like that at just 11 years old, they decided that they wanted her to be the lead of the show. They liked her so much, in fact, that they renamed the main character's name to being Miley Stewart. And you may be thinking, well, that's kind of weird because her birth name was Destiny. Well, when she was growing up, her family gave her a little nickname called Smiley, and Smiley ended up just becoming Miley. And then later on, as the progression of Hannah Montana went on and it became so popular, she decided to legally change her name to Miley. And just like that, Miley Ray Stewart was born, and thus the creation of Hannah Montana. So now that we have a little background for Miley and how she started off in her career, let's get into her first recording album with Disney Records. So in 2006, this is when we saw the first episode of Hannah Montana hit the airwaves. Now, I guess this is an understatement, but the popularity of Hannah Montana grew super fast, and it had been like nothing we had seen before in the past with television and Disney stars as a whole, I think. So in 2006, with the hit of the show, the Walt Disney Record Company decided to release the first Hannah CD and Miley's first time actually recording an album, and that album would be called Hannah Montana. And yeah, the album was initially a global success and it really hit, and it immediately hit the Billboard 200, and it sold 3 million records worldwide, which again is really huge because again she was only 11 at the time when they were actually recording the music, and it was just really big for her. She was only 11 when she did this, and she was just a girl boss building her empire. Now let's get into her second Disney album. And in my opinion, I think this is one of her biggest moments in her early career. Then in 2007, she actually started working on her double LP that would feature songs both from Miley Cyrus herself and Hannah, her character. She also landed on her own personal record deal with Hollywood Records. So this would be a personal record deal detached from Disney, but they decided to do a deal where they would release the album with both Hannah and Miley. So I guess it really was the best of both worlds. I know. And this double LP would be titled Hannah Montana 2 Meet Miley Cyrus. Now, I have a lot of things before I get into like all the facts or whatever. I have a lot of opinions on this album. It was my first CD that I ever owned. It left such an impression on me. I learned every single lyric from every single song. And since I'm a nerd and quite literally a whore for this album, these are my favorite songs from the album. So do with that information as you will. Not only was this another soundtrack for Hannah Montana, but it was actually considered to be Miley's first ever solo debut, just showcasing her own personal tastes detached from Disney. Kind of, I say that loosely, but technically it does serve as her first studio album as just Miley Cyrus. But of course, the album basically blew Hannah Montana 1 out of the ballpark because this album did so well. It landed on the Billboard Top 200 for over 40 freaking weeks. Now, that's literally incredible. Like, she was a Disney star. She was literally like 12 or 13. Girl boss. Girl boss shit. Not only was it in the Billboard 200 for over 40 weeks, but it initially landed at top 10 the first week that it dropped. And some of the singles for this record would have been Nobody's Perfect, Life's What You Make It, See You Again, and Start All Over. This album did so well for Miley that she actually decided to tour this album alongside the Jonas Brothers. Yeah, I know. I know. And it was actually Miley's first ever North American tour that she did headlining herself, because for Hannah Montana 1, she actually did go on tour with the Cheetah Girls. Iconic, I know. But she was not the headlining, obviously, at the time. She was just a brand new artist. But she was the opening act for the Cheetah Girl. I would have loved to have been there personally. But this was her first time headlining her own tour, so that's cute or whatever. And that tour would have been titled Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus, the Best of Both Worlds tour. When these tickets actually went on sale, Ticketmaster went on record to say that there had not been such a demand for tickets since the Beatles and Elvis. Now, all I have to say on the matter is that the Beatles could write Hey Jude, but those motherfuckers could not write Nobody's Perfect. Like, there is no way in hell they could write Nobody's Perfect. And if you're mad, then stay mad, because I don't care and your opinion's wrong. Also, another side note, when these tickets went on sale, my mother literally waited over an hour in the queue to get me these tickets. And she said that when her spot was open in line, they were so expensive she couldn't get them because they were literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars for one ticket. I think it was like $200 for one ticket in the far back nosebleeds because of those scalpers. I'll never forgive them. I'll never forgive them. So, to all my scalpers out there, nobody likes y'all. Rant over, but anyways. Also, did I mention that the Jonas Brothers were on this tour? That was a moment in history. That was a moment in history, and I wish I was there. I mean, I did see it when they had the concert experience at the movies. Was it like the same thing? Not really. But do I appreciate my lovely, beautiful parents for putting the effort into taking me and my cousin to go see this movie, even though it wasn't really their thing and there was like a lot of little girls screaming in the movie theater. Yeah. I'm grateful for them. But then in 2008, Miley would release her second personal studio album under her name, Miley Cyrus. And that album would be called Breakout. Now, one of the singles from this album is Seven Things. And if you don't know the drama and the tea behind that, very interesting. Seven Things perfectly encapsulates the drama and the breakup between Nick Jonas and Miley, of course. But of course, Breakout was yet another commercial success for Miley and was her third album to land on the Billboard Top 200. Next, we are going to be talking about Miley's third album with Disney, titled Hannah Montana 3, that released in 2009. And that album would have actually debuted at number 3 on the Billboard Top 200. During that same year, she would actually go on to release another personal project, which was an EP titled The Time of Our Lives. This one was huge for Miley's career, yet another huge milestone in her career because it had very huge commercial radio hits such as Party in the USA and The Climb. Those were actually huge milestones for her career because I believe that The Climb was even nominated for a Grammy, but there was like drama with that because it was nominated, but then their nomination got revoked. I don't remember what happened, but I'm gonna say that it was nominated for a Grammy. Miley even said in an interview when she was promoting the album that The Time of Our Lives was more of a personal and maturing and evolving album, and it was very different from her other albums that she had done in the past. And I think this was kind of like her transitioning steps into leaving Disney Channel because the next year it would have been her last season of Hannah Montana. And the same year that she released these albums, she would have also gone on to go on her first world tour called the Wonder World Tour. And not only did she do her first world tour and have all of these successes with her music, she was also named the 4th best-selling female artist of 2009 by Billboard. And in 2010, this is when they would have announced that Hannah Montana was sadly coming to an end. Now, I remember when they announced that Hannah Montana was ending, and I remember it literally ruining my day. It literally crushed me to my soul and my being, and I remember crying. I remember literally going to my room, closing the door, and falling down on my bed face first and sobbing. Like, I cried so hard when I found out that Hannah Montana was ending. So I got through it. Everybody goes through hard things. So with the ending of Hannah Montana, this is when they released the 4th and final Hannah record, which was titled Hannah Montana Forever. But sadly, that album did not do too well for Miley because that same year that Hannah Montana was ending, a controversial video of Miley smoking salvia out of a bong with some friends circulated around the internet, and parents were livid. They were so mad. And I remember this being a really big deal as a kid, and I personally didn't understand the big deal about it. And I still to this day don't think it was that big of a deal because salvia is literally legal. It's not like she was going on Disney Channel being like, hey kids, I'm gonna teach y'all how to do drugs. Like, she didn't do stuff like that on the show. So I just think that parents were being a little much. That's my take on the Miley salvia situation. But anyways, that was the end of Miley's Hannah career. So let's go on into her next album, which is I Can't Be Tamed. This was Miley's little introduction into her more risque eras so that she wasn't necessarily a Disney girl anymore. She wanted to be an adult and grown up mom. I could wear skinny leather pants, mom. You know, she was going through that. Now, this album didn't do too good for her because a lot of people were having a hard time seeing her transition from child star to a... Let me refrain it because if I finish that sentence, it's going to sound really wrong. A lot of people had difficulty seeing her transition from a person that made content for children that was recently just a child to seeing her make more mature content. And that was very different from her core audiences she was starting to transition from. And I Can't Be Tamed was actually Miley's first record to not land on the Billboard 200s chart. But for this record, she did end up touring it, but only a North American tour because she felt really unsafe traveling to other countries at the time because of the recent controversies, which again, I think is so sad that everything just was blown out of proportion because the world literally couldn't handle a girl boss. And now we get into a very interesting era that's personally one of my favorite Miley eras, actually. And this would be the Bangers era. So in 2013, Miley came out of the woodworks and released a jaw-dropping culturally resetting music video called We Can't Stop. We Can't Stop served as, I guess, her comeback song, and it was really, really big for Miley, as for the last few years of her career, it seems like a lot of people were mad at her due to the controversies, but she decided to just, feed into those controversies because she was like, I'm an adult, you can't do anything about it. We Can't Stop hit, and it basically, again, was a cultural reset altogether, and it broke a record for being Vivo's most viewed music video within the first 24 hours of it releasing. And on the first day, the video had over 100 million views. And I remember watching it when it first dropped, and I was literally like, and that same year, she actually released Wrecking Ball, which, again, another cultural reset. And you'd be lying if you said that you didn't know that music video. Everybody and their mother has watched that music video. I know mine has. And Wrecking Ball had 20 million views the same day it was dropped. So everybody was eating that shit up. Moving on to her next album is Miley Cyrus and Her Dead Pets. Miley is no stranger to controversy. This might be her most controversial album that we've talked about, and I think it'll be the most controversial album out of all of them because it was so different and out of Miley's comfort zone that a lot of people had a difficult time, I guess, accepting it. I don't know, she was literally ahead of her time. And personally, it's one of my favorite Miley projects. I'll say it. It's awesome, and people just can't accept that she's powerful. I don't know. This album was, again, very, very experimental for Miley, as it had many different genres involved with it, like psychedelic rock and alternative pop, which, if you know Miley, those are very different genres for her up until this point, and she had never really stepped her toes into it. And I just think it's really interesting that she was able to do it in such a good way. And I think another reason why it's one of my favorite albums by Miley is because she got the help from the lead singer of the Flaming Lips. And one of the songs that's personally one of my favorite Miley songs ever is called Karen Don't Be Sad. And that song was originally written for the Flaming Lips. And for years, they had that under their belt. They always felt like they couldn't be able to perform it right, and they weren't giving it the proper voice that they felt it needed. They ended up giving the song to Miley, and they figured it was just perfect for her. I recommend listening to it. It's really good. And it's just beautiful. I love that song. Moving on, we will now talk about her next album, Younger Now. Younger Now was released in 2017, and the first single to come out from this album would be titled Malibu. Peaked at number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. A lot of people felt comfortable with this album because they felt it was a little more of what they were used to when it came to Miley Cyrus, meaning a little more in touch with her early Disney days. And for this album, she actually didn't end up touring it, but instead she ended up doing a live show for the BBC Radio 1, and she ended up performing previous songs along with her newer album, but those previous songs would have been See You Again and Party in the USA. Now on to Miley's most recent album, Plastic Hearts. As a longtime Miley fan, I was thoroughly surprised to hear her do a full-on rock album. Even though she did Miley Cyrus and Her Dead Pets that had a lot of psychedelic rock and alternative pop influenced with it, Plastic Hearts is a rock album, you could say that, and I was surprised, honestly. I was really surprised. She executed it very well. Very, very well. For this album, she released Midnight Sky in August of 2020, and it peaked at number 14 on the Billboard Top 100. With the success of Midnight Sky, she decided to do a collaboration with none other than Stevie Nicks and did a collab of Midnight Sky and The Edge of 17, thus creating The Edge of Midnight. Now, I love that song a lot. It's a bop. It's a bop, and it's powerful. So if you haven't listened to it, listen to it. But for the same album, she would also have another single with pop icon Dula Peep, and that song would be called Prisoner. A little scandalous, but like it's a good song. And that song definitely has influences from the 80s pop hit Let's Get Physical by Olivia Newton-John. So it's a catchy bop. I don't hate it. It's a pretty good song. It's a little bop, you know? And this album definitely shows, once again, the rock side of Miley. And she ends up doing a lot of covers during this era of her music. During this era, Miley covers iconic songs such as Heart of Glass by Blondie, Man Eater by Hall & Oates, and Zombie by the Cranberries. Those covers, chef's kiss, phenomenal, show-stopping, never been done before.
Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping, spectacular, never the same, totally unique, completely not ever been done before, unafraid to reference or not reference, put it in a blender, shit on it, vomit on it, eat it.
Yeah, you could say I'm a fan of them. It'd be a major ass understatement, but you could say that. And Miley was planning on doing a tour for this album, but due to recent events, COVID, she had to postpone them, and she ended up actually doing a show at Lollapalooza. Side note, the pictures from Lollapalooza definitely gave me a panic attack, but that's a me problem, apparently. But she does have another show scheduled for ACL later this year, and I'm hashtag sad because I live in Texas and I won't be able to go to that because of hashtag Cronova. And yeah, that has been all of Miley Cyrus's records from her Disney days all the way to her iconic rock era that is now Plastic Hearts. Needless to say, I had an awesome time researching this video. I didn't have to research that much because I already kind of knew a lot about Miley because I'm crazy. It was really fun to make. I've been such a huge fan of Miley since I was literally 6 years old, and I can't wait to see what she has in store for her fans in the future. Hopefully one day I finally get to see her in concert because that's definitely on my bucket list. That was the video. Hope y'all liked it, and comment any new people or songs or movies or literally anything pop culture related y'all want me to talk about. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Bye.